In Conflict of Nations, picking the wrong nation can literally lose you the game. The nation you choose is extremely important, not just in the early game, but also in the mid and late game. Your nation choice affects every single stage of the match. In the early game, picking the wrong nation can get you swarmed and eliminated as early as day one. In the mid game, a bad nation choice can completely lock your expansion and prevent you from snowballing. And in the late game, you'll be at a massive disadvantage because you'll have fewer homeland cities compared to your opponents, meaning fewer places to produce units. On top of all that, these nations also suffer economically throughout the entire game. With that said, let's go over the worst nations you can pick in Conflict of Nations. First, we have North Korea. This is one of the hardest nations to play in the entire game. It is almost every negative factor you can possibly have. North Korea has a terrible map position, and you're at constant risk of being swarmed early by neighbors like South Korea, Japan, and China. You only start with 4 homeland cities, which already puts you at a massive disadvantage. And even worse, you don't have an electronic city. Electronics are one of the most important resources in the game, and even if you annex electronic cities later, you'll struggle with electronics for the entire match. Starting with only 4 cities is brutal. You fall behind economically from the very beginning. You have fewer units, fewer production slots, and very little room to recover unless you play perfectly. Defending yourself early game is extremely difficult, and getting swarmed is very likely. I do not recommend picking North Korea unless you are deliberately looking for a very difficult challenge. Next, we have South Korea. Similar to North Korea, South Korea also starts with only 4 cities, giving you the same massive disadvantages. The map position is also awful. You have North Korea to the north, Japan to the east, and China to the west, which makes you extremely vulnerable to being swarmed early. The only real advantage South Korea has over North Korea is that it does start with an electronic city, which is important, but it lacks a fuel city instead. While this makes it slightly better than North Korea, it is still a terrible nation overall. I don't recommend picking South Korea either unless you want a serious challenge. Up next, we have Chile. On paper, Chile might look decent, but in practice, it's a very weak nation. While it's relatively safe in the early game, it becomes terrible in the mid and late game. This is mainly due to its geography, map position, and economy. Most of Chile's cities are coastal, which means you must heavily defend the sea, but at the same time you also face land threats from the north. This forces you to defend 2 fronts with only 5 starting cities, which is extremely difficult. Expansion in Chile is also painfully slow due to its long and narrow map position. Over time, you will almost always fall behind stronger South American nations like Brazil. Unlike the Koreas, Chile isn't really challenging in a fun way. It's just slow, restrictive, and disadvantaged. I strongly advise against playing Chile. Next on the list is Greece, and this nation is a massive trap. While it might look strong at first glance, it really isn't. Greece is one of the weakest economies in Europe and only starts with 5 homeland cities. On top of that, 2 of those cities are islands far away from the mainland. This hurts your economy, slows down unit mobilization, and makes defense much harder both early and late game. Your neighbors also start much stronger than you. To the east, you have a nation with 6 cities, meaning more troops and a bigger economy. To the north, Romania and Serbia are both threats and benefit from compact geography that gives them defensive advantages. Because of this, expanding or defending as Greece is extremely difficult. I wouldn't recommend Greece unless you're a very experienced player specifically looking for a slow and difficult challenge. Next, we have Mongolia. Mongolia suffers from many of the same issues as Greece, but even worse. It is isolated, extremely slow to play, and has massive borders. Your 2 main neighbors are Russia and China, both of which are significantly stronger than you. In a standard war, you will almost always lose against them. Mongolia also has a weak economy and no naval access, which limits your strategic options even further. Even if you somehow manage to defeat Russia or China, expanding afterward takes an enormous amount of time due to massive provinces, mountains, and harsh terrain. You'll spend most of the game defending instead of expanding. I don't recommend Mongolia at all, not even for experienced players. It's not just difficult, it's slow and boring. Up next is Austria. Austria is very hard to play because of its geography, average economy, lack of naval access, and extremely powerful neighbors. You are positioned right next to 3 European giants, Germany, France, and Italy. All three start stronger than you, with more homeland cities, larger economies, and more starting units. This makes you an immediate target and puts you at a huge disadvantage from the start. Austria can be fun for experienced players who enjoy a challenge, but it is one of the most dangerous picks for casual or less experienced players. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, you will struggle heavily. Finally, we have Israel, which has very similar problems to Austria. Israel is completely surrounded by nations with more resources, more units, and stronger starting positions. Because of its geography, Israel is often the biggest target on the map. You only start with 5 cities and a small army, which causes long-term economic struggles. Your cities are also very close together, which is a double-edged sword. While it allows you to move units quickly between cities for defense, it also means that if you log off for even 30 minutes, you can come back to find your entire homeland invaded. I only recommend playing Israel if you are a hyperactive player, a strong diplomat, or very experienced player. And that's it for the list of the worst nations to pick in Conflict of Nations. If you think any other nations deserve to be on this list, let me know in the comments. And if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe. Good luck!